Greetings, students. This tutorial is to show you different ways in which you can get different directions of motion with a servo depending on how you mount it. So I have 3 different items here that we could add to our robot body here. This first one is an arm that could be turned front to back. Okay, so that's one direction that this could be going. If this is your robot, something could be going front to back. That's one direction. The second direction is if we wanted something going left to right, like a hand. And that's a second direction. The third direction is if we wanted it twisting along the top, like this, like a head. So any one of these is possible, but they have different ways of mounting the servos. So let's start with the first item you've seen before, the front to back. So to get a front to back working, we're going to need to take a servo and mount it sideways. So you could put this in the front if you wanted, or it might be better to hide it back here behind it with the white servo horn sticking out, right? So if that's what you want to do, probably the easiest way is to get some glue dots if we're remote, and if you have access to a hot glue gun, you could use that. We'd basically want to get some adhesive on the front of this thing and mount it on here, and then mount it so it is sticking out the side, okay? We could also put another option is to maybe tape this down. So I could just tape this thing down here, just so long as the white part is sticking out the side. Okay, now this white part is removable. So we could take this off, and then we're gonna want it to be on the edge of this. So I could attach the servo horn to the edge here. Now this one's already attached, and you could see this servo horn is held on by glue. You could also put straps on here, and then we could add this, reattach it when we're done to the servo, and then fire this thing up. Now depending on how well we have programmed it here, let's see what this looks like. So now we're seeing this mainly going backwards for a sec. So let me unplug that for just a sec. So it looks like about the right amount, but I'm gonna need to tune this. So right now this is just going backwards and up. So what I can do is I can take this off and turn it and reattach it, and then try this again. So let me wire it back in, and we can take a look how it turns out. Maybe that's a little too forward. So I'm going to move this back a tiny bit more so it goes back a little bit and forward a little bit. So we already have the right amount of turning on this. I just need to reposition this a little bit, straighten it up. And then now when I plug this thing in, we can see ourselves getting a good amount of motion there. All right, so again, if you want something backwards and forwards, you mount it facing sideways like this, and then attach your piece to the side of that. That's option number 1. Option number 2 involves something that you want going left to right like this. So to be able to do that, we're gonna wanna take a servo and face it going forward or backwards. So I'm actually gonna mount this on the front here, and we're gonna wanna attach the hand to the front of this. So I'm gonna need to put some adhesive on the back of this thing. So I'm gonna choose some glue dots, and I'm gonna put the glue dots on the back of this. Put a couple of these here. And have it face forward. Like that. Now, the white part, the servo horn, does come off, And I'm going to need to attach that servo horn to the back of the hand. So I'm looking, if it needs to be mounted like that, I might want to get some tape out and just tape across one side and then the other side. Here. So the servo horn is now attached to the back of this. So now I can reattach my hand to the servo by connecting the horn to the servo. And now when I activate this servo, let's see if I can get it to reach. Here we go. And okay, so that's going left and right, but I have it turning a little too far to the left. So I think what I'm going to do is I am going to remove this, turn it a little more to the right, and then plug this back in to test it. There we go. That's looking a little better. All right, so that gets me the left to right or back and forth motion. Okay, the third option is something where it's swiveling on the top like this, like a head, back and forth. We could also use a tank top, for instance, back and forth. And to be able to do something like that, we need our servo facing in the up direction. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to hide my servo behind facing up like this. So for this, how do I attach it here where it's sticking up off the top? Well, I could put some glue dots on the side of it. So let me see if I can find some glue dots on this roll and put that on the side here. And I might reinforce this with some tape, whatever adhesives you have access to, hot glue gun, glue dots, tape, that's totally up to you. I'm going to hide it behind, and I'm going to have the white part just barely sticking up from the top here. All right, so then when I take this servo horn off, I'm going to need to attach this to the edge of my head here, the bottom of that. So I've put a couple of glue dots in there. This is pretty thin here, so I'm going to reinforce this with a little bit of tape. Here, on the bottom. Little tape here. Get some fresh so it tapes well. And to get that back and forth motion along the top, I'm going to need to stick this up here. All right, so now let's take a look at what that looks like when moving. Okay, so this is turning well, but it's turned way too far to the right. So I'm going to take this off and maybe reposition it. This is the right amount of turning, it just wasn't aimed correctly. And there we go. So now my face is moving left and right. It looks like it's turning right more than left, so I'm going to again move this a little bit more over, reposition it, and then activate it again and double check it. Just like this, there we go. And that looks pretty good left to right, spinning along the top. So again, your three options are something moving backwards and forwards, and there it sticks sideways. You can have something move left and right, and that's where the servo is pointing either straight forwards or straight backwards, and something can move left to right. Or if you want it spinning along the top, you have the servo facing directly up. Okay, I hope this helps, folks.